If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. Yo, what's going on, Knuckleheads? Welcome to the FightersRep video podcast. I'm your host, the FightersRep. Thank you so much for joining me. As we usually do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. Today, Knuckleheads, I've got a special treat for you. I've got none other than one half of the FightersRep 9 main event, the winning half, John the Caveman Garcia. He's going to be joining us today. We just wanted to interview John during this whole crazy pandemic, see what he's up to, and also, get some more of his insights as to, what went down at FightersRep 9 in what was an incredible fight. You could watch it on this channel against a very tough Milton, the Diamond Arguello. So I want to get John on the line. Also talk to him and ask him a few questions related to that fantastic documentary that we put out with regards to him and Milton. There are a lot of things that he exposed about himself and his life story, and we're definitely going to want to ask him about some of those things. So let's see if we can't get John the Caveman Garcia on the line for you guys real quick. Just give me 1 second here, and we're going to pull him up.
How's it going?
What's going on, John the Caveman Garcia, ladies and gentlemen? How are you, young man?
Doing well, and yourselves?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for doing this, John. Thank you for your time, brother.
Yeah, no, anytime, man. It's my pleasure.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, there's a lot, I want to get to with you, John. If I'm being honest,
Yes,
you kind of seem like the strong, silent type. You know what I mean? But you've got so many interesting tidbits about you. Am I right that you're more of an introvert, maybe?
Yeah, I'm a bit more of an introvert. I keep a bit more to myself.
Well, you definitely let your fists and shins do the talking for you when you're in the ring, brother.
Yes,
But, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and there are so many, was when we did that documentary for you.
Yes, sir.
When we did that documentary for you, you exposed a lot about your personal self, and you told us, that Crew Rod McKeever was like a father to you.
Yes, that's correct.
Where was your actual? If you don't mind us getting personal, where's your father and what happened with that relationship, and how did kind of Crew Rod, I guess, come into play?
My father's never been around. I just grew up with a single parent, so my mother basically raised me my whole time, and then living in Inglewood, you end up being around like the wrong crowd. Making the wrong friends sometimes, just living life. And so that's actually how I met Crew Rod, through the outreach program at his church at Victory Outreach.
Yeah.
And they were passing out, flyers and talking about, we have a program to get kids off of the streets, get them steer them clear into a better path. So I believe it was called a Gang for God's Anointed and something. But yeah, that's how I met Crew Rod, and also through one of his old fighters, Josh. He used to go to high school with me, and so he helped introduce us together, and we've been there ever since.
Crew Rod is a really interesting guy. What do you think drove him to create this program for the youth?
From what I've recalled, I don't know if I'm sharing a bit too much of his information, but he grew up sort of in similar situations with us. So he wanted to give back to the city, give us a better meaning and better outlook.
Gotcha, John. Gotcha. And when was it that you met Crew Rod and started your martial arts career?
I was barely getting into 10th grade, so I was about 13 going on 14.
Wow. Okay.
So,
So you've been at this for a hot minute then, John.
yeah, I started, Taekwondo when I was 9. Didn't really get to do much. Growing up, I was an overweight kid. So I didn't really start, getting into, a height that I was required for athletes, or, losing the weight and all that until, my mid-teens. So, I was a late bloomer, but I was just trying to pick up, as much as I could.
Oh. Well, I mean, you definitely don't look like the chubby kid anymore, John. You were freaking ripped on fight night, my man.
Yeah, man, I try. It's mainly my diet. A lot of people uh, have like their whole plans. So, for me, it's training with crew rod, good diet. Training almost every day. I have a strength coach, and I just keep at it. I try to be better every day. So, if you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, I try to almost live up to like Goku standards. I try to eat a lot, try to work out a lot, try to
Yeah.
train a lot. You know.
I love it, man. So John, why fighting though? I mean, did you get into a lot of fights growing up? Why combat sports?
Yeah, I got bullied growing up, being a little kid. The best go-to was, you don't have a dad. So that was always the easiest thing. So, like
Damn.
I said, picking the wrong crowds, that's where I got into, like, gang styles and everything, just trying to be into a big crowd so I could feel like, like I had people to protect me, just have people cover my back.
Yeah.
But, I started steering away from that. But, as you get older, you still do a bit of things like, yeah, if you heard of my documentary when I was doing like street fights and the legal tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you got punished for that too.
Yeah, I got kicked out for like about a year and a half.
Wow. And so during that year and a half, I mean, were you trying to get back in with Crew Rod, or was he, what was going on there?
It was more like isolation, it was a punishment. I did break the rules, so he distanced himself from me for that year. So it was my senior year, and luckily I was still playing other sports like track and field, football, soccer. So I just try to keep busy with something else. But even then, like I felt like just training and fighting was part of me. Like I needed it for some reason. Like I wasn't stable without it for some weird reason.
No, I totally get it. Now, a year and a half, I mean, that's quite a long time. Were you trying to get back into Rod's good graces during that time, or was he just not answering you at all, or what happened there?
I was trying, but I felt like I needed my own path. So it was almost like I had to guide myself back to him.
And you said you did track, you did football. I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what did you do in track? What event did you compete in? And in football, what position did you play in?
In football, I was a mid linebacker and a kicker. So
Okay.
yeah, just based off ethnicity, I got to be a kicker. It's always a stereotype, just based off your ethnicity, if you're Hispanic or any type of Latino sense, and you can kick, you're a kicker.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But middle linebacker too, that's a tough position, brother.
yeah, I just, I used to play rugby, so I was used to playing hook. So I always felt like I needed to be in the center so I could get a good vision of things. So middle linebacker was a good position for me, even like in flag football.
And
Like it was a good position.
and in track, what event did you run in track?
Same thing. Based off being Hispanic, I got chosen for long distance. So that was my first thing. I did the mile, and then I did the 2 miles.
Yeah.
And every now and then, I'll do the 800 meters. But then during an incident, they used to have soccer games during our track practices, and one of the soccer coaches had a way of always stepping into the track field. So it's like you could yell track, but if they don't move, it's either you hit them or you don't. So I ended up jumping over a hurdle, and then that's how I ended up being a hurdler after that.
Oh my God. So they discovered that you had some hops and they threw you in the hurdles.
Yes, sir. I started running, 45s. I made it to CAF.
Wow. Wow, dude.
Trying to keep myself busy.
Damn, John, that's impressive. I actually, I'm interested because I ran the 100 and the 200 for a short period of time in high school. This is down in Miami.
Yes,
And,
sir.
I know what it takes to run track, man. That was not a fun sport at all.
Oh, yeah, it was brutal.
I
hated
wanted
it.
to, what was that?
I hated it. I hated every single day of it. But, it made me better. It made me who I am today.
Yeah, it made me want to play basketball, which is what I did at the end.
Yes,
John, I wanted to ask you, that long distance stuff. I mean, do you think that helped you in the fight game? Because I must say, the way you fought at FightersRep 9, it was, the only word that comes to mind was Terminator, man. You just were nonstop in there. Do you think that that's helped your endurance?
yes, it definitely has. have this thing where on weekends, my friend and I will do hill sprints. We'll go for like 4 or 5 miles and then finish off with like 30, 40 hill sprints. Try to gauge and play around with my running. And then every Tuesday night we used to do like this running crew. So we used to go on the track field and try to run at least 5 to 6 miles.
I see. And did that introvertedness, did that also cause people to pick on you a little bit?
I think so. I just felt like I was a bit of an outsider, so
Yeah.
I was part of the in crowd. So it always gives you any type of reason to pick on people.
Did you fight back, or were you the type to just kind of shy away until you started the martial arts?
I try to fight back. I used to get my ass beat growing up, and then that's how you learn. You learn through your battles.
Yeah. Well, I don't see you getting your ass beat too much nowadays. So speaking of which, John, speaking of fights, man, I wanted to focus on Fighters Rep 9 for a little bit here. For people tuning in that don't know, John Garcia was the main event along with Milton Arguello. I thought it was an awesome fight. You were our first ever pro main event, so thank you so much, first off, for doing that. You know what I mean? Man, it was such an entertaining fight. I mean, what were your thoughts now, in hindsight? What were your thoughts on that fight? Because that fight was nuts, man.
It was a good fight, all respect to Milton. Milton's a good competitor. Respect to his team. For myself, I felt like I could have done more in that fight. Like, even though I was, in like the zone, and I was just coming forward trying to like find different things. Like, I felt like I could have done more. Like, I could have maneuvered to hit more of the body. Set up a couple more combinations. Try to work that defense a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, what was your strategy going into the fight? Because what I saw was John Garcia moving forward and just throwing kicks, punches. It was nonstop.
The strategy was just like Crew Ross said. I just wanted to break him. I just wanted to get in there and give him a good, every single round. Just make sure there was always an exchange. I just wanted to have the upper hand every round because I wasn't looking for the finish. I was looking to the long term. I wanted to break them each round. That was my game plan.
Man, I think it was around the second round. He started to fight back. I mean, it was like for the majority of the first round and a half, he was moving around, maybe trying to gauge his distance, trying to stay back. Around the second round, you guys just collided, and there was an exchange there where, there were several hard blows being exchanged, and I mean, if you watch the replay, you could see me holding my head in the back because I'm like freaking out watching you guys doing this. I mean, you guys were just going off on each other. Did he land any shots that kind of, got your attention? And what was going through your mind during some of these very violent exchanges that were happening in there?
I think during those times where he connected and stuff, it was a good way to test my chin because I never got into test my chin to that extreme. So just, I was getting hit a couple of times. He was getting me on those things. I think it was just my will to just keep pushing forward that just kept me there. And also, like, just that hindsight. I just wanted to, exchange, give and take. So for me, it was just more of a give and take. But I just felt like had he done a bit more, it could have changed the whole momentum. It would have been the back and forth a bit more for the whole round.
Yeah. Well, one thing Blake Troop was saying, I'm not sure if you've watched the replay or not, but one thing Blake was saying is, he's got to stop moving if he wants a chance to win this fight. He's got to plant his feet and throw, and for whatever reason, he wasn't doing that. I'm sure the leg kicks weren't making it easy for him, and your activity wasn't making it easy for him. What do you think prevented him from just, buckling down, staying on the inside, and throwing blows with you?
I think the anticipation of what's coming next. Because it wasn't like I was just throwing like, a 2-punch with a kick and then just walking him down. Like, it was like a 2-punch kick, 4 punches kick, kicks from different angles. So it was like what can I do to avoid the kick and also avoid getting hit? Because no matter where I'm moving, something's hitting me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as someone who is sitting ringside, I wanted to tell you, man, what a fantastic and fun fight that was, man. People were screaming like somebody was getting, killed in that arena. It was just nuts, my man.
So, I mean, that was the whole point, put on the show, just leave everything out on the ring. So that was the main objective, and thank you for letting us accomplish that.
Dude, it's my pleasure, and I really hope to have you back. You were supposed to compete again soon. I'm assuming your fight fell out. Am I right?
Right, yeah. Right after fighting for your promotion, we got a contract to fight for Lion Fight at Commerce Casino in April, but that got pushed back to June. So hopefully when all this clears out, we'll be able to get that fight ready, and then after that fight, if God willing, if I'm healthy and everything, I'll jump on the next card for you guys as well.
Oh man, hey, you're welcome anytime, brother. I wanted to ask you, John. I wanted to ask you. Now we're delving into personal questions from me here. So Lion Fight, that's a Muay Thai promotion, am I right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, now do you prefer that Muay Thai rule set, or did you like the kickboxing rule set? I mean, I know each guy has their preference, and I don't mind either way. I'm just curious, like, how do you feel about the kickboxing rule set and the Muay Thai rule set?
I feel with the Muay Thai rule set, you get a better display of more artwork. You get to be craftier, but it's almost like in comparison to MMA, where you can hold the clinch for a bit longer. You can catch the kicks and set up a bit more technique. Whereas compared to kickboxing, K1 rules, the clinch was one thing that it was taken away from me. Normally after a couple punches and kicks, I'd come in with a clinch, come in with like 2-3 knees. I couldn't do that this time around. So I feel like that's the only difference where, the display of elbows and knees aren't as prominent as they are in Muay Thai rules. So I prefer both. I can do either or because, take away one thing, like take away my knees, take away my elbows, I still have my fists and my kicks and my range. So, you're just adding more things to me.
Right, and I'm not sure if you guys know this, but recently the IKF updated their rule set. But being basically the only unified rules kickboxing promotion. I mean, I know there's some other promotions that do a mix, but I think I'm the only one in California that only does the unified rules of kickboxing. So I asked them, please let's write out this rule set so that everybody's kind of on the same page. And they're saying that one-handed clinch is allowed as long as you throw one knee, but then you kind of got to let it go. So, yes. I mean, that's definitely different than what you're doing at Muay Thai, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, aside from that, do you think the rule set or one rule set is a bit more action-packed than the other? I am biased on this one. But which do you feel is more action-packed, if you feel one is more action-packed than the other at all?
I think it just displays on how the fighter produces the rule sets. I think both are equal in action-packed, but with K1 rules, it's nonstop punching and kicking. So, someone's going to get tired. So that's like the downside of it is, I guess, their endurance and how they're built as a fighter preparing for that match. Whereas in, Muay Thai, you just keep going. So even if I elbow you, clinch you, throw that knee, I can separate, go for a kick, go back to that clinch. So it just depends on how you elaborate everything else. But I do think K1 is a bit superb because it's just nonstop. You can only block, slip, weave, move out the way. You can't catch kicks. So that's also another thing that takes away from people's momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more exciting for the fans, and it's part of the reason I love the rule set. But definitely I have a lot of respect, obviously, for the Muay Thai game and the Muay Thai community. And, it is unified rules, so Muay Thai guys will come in and they'll have a lot of success,
Yeah. I mean, speaking for example, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're that guy. So the next fight will probably be for Lion Fight, you said around June?
Correct. Yes.
And then after that, we do have hopefully a Fighters Rep card, assuming this crazy pandemic pans out the way we want it to, at the end of August. So I'm definitely hoping to get you on that one. What are you thinking about this crazy pandemic right now, John? What are you doing to keep you sane right now?
I mean, I might get ridiculed by some people, but I find it pretty hilarious. It's more of it's always been a scare. Like coronavirus has been known, but it hasn't been like an outbreak as of late. And so I think it's just more based on the politics on how people sway themselves. Like the whole hysteria of buying endless supplies of toilet paper. Like toilet paper can do. You get me?
I hate those people, John. I hate those guys.
So, just that. I mean, it sucks. A lot of places had to close down. Like, my gym got closed because of it. We had to limit team training. The other gym where I'll go for strength and conditioning got closed. So, luckily, my strength coach has like a mini gym set up at his house. So, I still get my sessions in. But, it just limits a bit of the interactive things that we can do, like, going out with your friends, taking your family to restaurants. You can't do any of those sit downs and everything. Yeah. So, all we do now is cook, meal prep, work out. There's a track field right by my house, so I'm always running there every morning. There's parks around, so I'm doing hill sprints, just staying active. So either I'm reading a book, playing video games, watching TV, or working out. But 9 times out of 10, I'm working out.
Yeah, man, yeah. I feel like I'm in prison, John. Do you feel like you're in prison, brother?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna come out swole once we get out the pandemic.
Well, speaking of video games, you mentioned video games. What video games are you playing right now, John?
I'm a RPG fan, so I'll play Final Fantasy, Assassin's Creed, anything that requires leveling up, strategies, quests. I used to play Warcraft?
Yeah.
I used to play that on PC, but then I got bored of it, and then got Xbox One. So I just finished beating Star Wars: The Fallen Order.
Nice.
I'm a bit of a game freak where I have to beat the game completely. So I don't leave the game even if I beat it until I complete the whole achievements, any secret hobbies. Yeah, so that's one of my little secret hobbies.
Well, that says something about you. Leave no stone unturned. I mean, you must be a scary person to fight if that's the way you approach things.
I just try to pinpoint what I feel will be best suited for that match.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't go my way, but that's how you learn. You learn through failures. You learn through the experiences that you go through.
John, what would you say is your best quality as a fighter?
I believe my best quality would be I have a lot of heart. Like, even if I feel like I'm losing, I'm still going to try to give it my best. So, I won't give up until that bell rings or until the ref stops me.
Do you think your cardio, I mean, sometimes people, I feel like they separate heart from cardio, but, I feel like they're kind of interconnected too, right? I mean, how do you feel about that connection between heart and cardio?
Yeah, I mean, your heart beats. So that's part of the cardio. If it's running miles per hour and you're able to still have that steady heart pace, then, that's where your cardio comes in handy. Because I know some fighters, like even my first fights as amateur, my heart was racing like miles per hour, and I felt that fatigue just start draining me. And it wasn't until the later fights that I got to see, my heart's pacing and beating, but it's a steady beat, even though I'm going through the third round, or maybe even to the fourth or fifth round, or maybe my second fight of the weekend or something.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were chubby when you were a kid. Now you're ripped to shreds. I wanted to ask you, what is it you eat? What is it you do to get in the shape that you're in, John?
I just started doing my meal preps is basically more. Hold up, there we go. Oh, I think it burnt up. Oh.
It's all good, bro. We can still see you a little bit.
Let me change that angle. Maybe you can see me a bit better. Is that better?
That's actually worse. I think you want to face the light.
Alright.
If you can, brother. That works. Now you look scary, but it's still good. We want you to look a little scary.
Alright. Yeah, I think it's just I just cracked down on my diet. I cut down carbs a lot, so I do more of a carb cycling. So if I have a heavy day, then that's how many carbs I eat. If I have like an easy day, I eat like very little to no carbs. And so like the week of like for your fight camp that month, I started disminuing carbs to the point where I was having zero carbs for like 2 weeks and a half.
Wow.
And so it was
So
just high protein, high veggies.
so give me the details. I mean, what are you eating? Because a lot of people watching this probably gonna want to be like, damn, I need that. I need that look. I need that caveman look. How do I get that caveman physique?
Uh, it goes back to the paleo diet, which is also part of being a caveman. Nuts, berries, animals, fish. Everything that's homegrown that you can find in the wilderness is mainly what I eat. So, I eat a lot of salmon and chicken. Salmon.
Any kind of meat you stay away from, or do you eat all meat?
Oh no, I eat all meats.
Hmm.
Like I think I'll chow down some pork and everything. Like I'm a fat boy at heart, so even after your wins, I don't know if you saw me when you had that little buffet for us. I ate like 3-4 times, I was just starving and just I wouldn't stop eating. So I think I ate like 10, 15 pounds that day.
Very nice. Hey, I'm glad you guys took advantage of it, man. Sometimes I worry that you guys might not like the food and stuff.
No, I was waiting. Like once I saw the guy setting up, I wanted to go ask him questions, but really I was just seeing like what food he has so I can just start picking my plates out.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Feel free to, give me any suggestions because I try to bring healthier stuff along with like rice and beans and stuff for the fighters for after weigh-ins. I don't want them to eat anything too greasy and get messed up. But,
Yes.
any suggestions you guys have, I'm open to it. You know what I mean?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a good selection. You had your veggies, you had your protein, you had your carbs. I feel like after that, you gave us everything you could, so it's people's choice if they want to eat it or not, or if they're vegetarian, then I understand that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, big shout out to Mariscos El Gordo who hooked it up with the food for weigh-ins. He's one of our sponsors. He's a real cool guy. He also vends the food at the fights, and he actually ran out of food that night because people were tearing it up. So he's definitely doing his job well.
Sure.
Your overall experience at FightersRep. I mean, did you enjoy the experience, John? Tell me how you felt about it. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just tell me how
It's
you
all
feel
good.
about it.
It was a cool experience. Like I was telling Oscar, one of my teammates,